Okay, I think we're on, guys. So welcome to the inaugural League of Titans broadcast. My name's Anthony. I'm your host for this episode. Now, before I introduce my two guests, I thought I might steal a few moments of your time and walk you through our conceptualized image for this show. So what we're hoping to do is to have a broadcast that runs across the entire NFL season, and that each broadcast will basically be a roundtable discussion focusing on the NFL. But more specifically, it will involve you guys. So what we're looking at is having a rotating chair at each forum or round table where it will serve as a device to mix in as many of you guys onto this platform to basically talk NFL and fantasy. Now, we seem to think it's a great opportunity for us to get to know you and for you guys to express your views and opinions and obviously drop some knowledge. So the short-term view is we think it'll be fun, interactive, engaging. The long-term view is we think it'll be a great way for you to invest in this league, help drive and shape it moving into the future. I think that's probably it in a nutshell, and I hope I've articulated the basic idea sufficiently for everyone to understand. What I'm hoping for is to be flooded with feedback, ideas, constructive comments, but above all else, I'm really hoping to be flooded with lots of interest from you guys wanting to participate in this venture. So, without any further delay, what I really want to do is now introduce our two guests or experts who've been patiently waiting while I've completely butchered this intro. They're two gentlemen whose shadows loom large over our fantasy landscape. One hails from Carolina, who says his love of the Panthers is only rivaled by his love of cooking omelettes buck naked on a Sunday morning. I speak, of course, of David. Hey, David, how you going?
What's up? What's up, Anthony? Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate it. Like you said, I hail out of North Carolina. Straight up Panthers fan. Panther for life. Been following the Panthers ever since they first started. Wasn't with them there in the beginning because I was still kind of a Skins fan growing up. But, yeah, love the Panthers. I love the NFL. I love everything fantasy. It's a great honor to be able to hang out with you guys and talk about these rookie picks we got in the 5-round draft or whatever. Appreciate you having me.
No problems. All right. Our second guest resides in the great state of Texas, and he spends almost equal amounts of time adoring Tony Romo and objectifying Zeke Elliott. Let's introduce the man, the Dallas Don, Tony. How are you, Tony?
What's up, man? Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm here in San Antonio, Texas. Living the life down here in the hot weather. I've been a Cowboys fan all my life. Since about 1990 or so, when I was about 9 years old. So that's about it, man. I'm ready to get on here, talk about these rookies, the draft we had last week, which almost got butchered with of NFL.com. Anthony helped me get it back on track, and we did that 5-round draft, and that's what I believe we're going to cover. So that's it, brother.
No problems, absolutely. Well, as you've sort of alluded to, we participated in our first rookie draft about a week ago. It was fast, it was furious, it was wild, and it was incredibly hard to keep up. But I think the dust has settled, I've recovered, and I'm ready to talk about it. I hope you guys are. Now, what I thought I'd do is principally focus on the first 2 rounds of the draft, and in an effort to make it easier for everyone, I thought it might be best maybe to read off the names in sequential order and to break them up into units of 6. So I'll read the first 6 names, pass off to you guys, the experts, for comments and thoughts, and then I'll read the next 6 names and so forth. Sounds fair?
Sounds fair.
All right, let's get started. Of course, at the 101 we had Ezekiel Elliott. At 102, Derrick Henry. I think that deserves a rock eyebrow raise. Because that is...
Good old Bruce.
That's a bit nuts. 103, Corey Coleman. At the 104, Laquan Treadwell. At the 105, Michael Thomas. And at the 106, Sterling Shepard. Why don't I throw to you, David, for some general thoughts and ideas and what stands out to you amongst those first 6 names that I read out?
Well, I mean, obviously, as you can see, Tony over there, he's dying. He's waiting to talk about his man, the stud, the Ohio State Don. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott. He's everything that every sports guru that I've seen on TV, read, internet, TV, whatever. Ezekiel Elliott is, he's God. The Cowboys are hoping that this Ohio State Buckeye is going to, come in and change the franchise, maybe bring them up to a Super Bowl again. Everything that everybody has talked about, even the stuff that I have seen, it looks like that, he's going to be the man. As you're going to hear from Tony, their offensive line is capable of not only protecting Romo, but also allowing, somebody like Ezekiel Elliott, who's really, really quick, who's able to get through the hole, who's able to, dominate his running game. As you've seen, if you, take 5 minutes to look at a highlight, you'll understand, Ezekiel Elliott, he is the man. The only thing I worry about him is, all this hype and all this pressure for such a young man. Is he going to be able to handle that, as well as perform his duties, for what he's getting paid to do? That'll remain to be seen. But really good things coming out of, all the news wires about this guy. I can't wait to see him in action. Tony, let's hear it, man. Come on.
My boy. Yeah. I've been watching Zeke for the last 2-3 years, ever since he got in Columbus up there at Ohio State. He helped the Buckeyes win a national championship 2 years ago. He absolutely shredded Alabama's defense. I think he ran for like 240 and 3 touchdowns against them, and then he roasted Oregon in the championship game, ran for 200 plus and a couple touchdowns. Like Dave said, the O-line there in Dallas is probably the best in the league, if not arguably one of the best in the league. He does have a lot of hype on him. Everyone's talking him up in these fantasy drafts and talking about him going top 5 and all that as far as a redraft league goes. And I don't know. He got a lot of pressure on him, but he has a good O-line. If Romo can stay healthy, if Bryant can stay healthy, there's no reason to think he can't have a year like Murray had 2 years ago. So we'll see what happens, man.
Cool.
Yeah, you're definitely right
David,
about that.
Any other names that stand out to you in amongst those 6?
Well, I mean, the number 2 pick out of our draft, Derrick Henry, which is it's a little weird. I mean, yeah, he's a good quarterback. I mean, a good running back, but he's 45th overall out of the second round, but yet he goes number 2 in our draft, which is kind of, I mean, it just seems like maybe there's something Demon saw that that we didn't see. Yeah, I know he's a Heisman winner, like Tony's got up on there, but yeah, it's just that to me that's. Whoa. Sorry, we got some serious lightning and storming going on over here. My apologies, guys. Yeah, I mean, out of Alabama, he's got in 2015 he broke Herschel Walker's single-season college rushing yards. He's got the Maxwell Award, the Walter Camp Award. He's got a lot of awards, so I can understand him coming number 2 in our draft, but
Yeah. The only problem there, if you don't mind me interrupting, is
no.
He's going to be the second fiddle to Murray over there in Tennessee. Sounds like Murray's going to get the bulk of the carries, but I don't know. I kind of picture Henry being more like a Marion Barber type. Maybe they'll bring him in the fourth quarter when he's nice and fresh. Let him come in, wear out that defense, and punch it in on goal line runs. He's a big fella. He's like 6'2" or 6'3", something like that, 240.
Oh, yeah.
So he's a big dude, but he has a lot of miles on him. I mean, Alabama ran him, all they could. He had like 300 carries last year or something like that. I don't know the exact numbers on it, but he deserved the Heisman last year. But, them Alabama running backs, we've had Eddie Lacy. We've had Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson, T.J. Yeldon. A lot of those guys turn out to be okay, or they're either a bust. So don't know what to think of Henry. I think he went a little high. If I was drafting the 2, I would have gone Treadwell. That's just me.
Yeah, I probably would have done the same thing. I mean, number 2, like maybe there's with me. See, like with my pick with Shepard, I had a specific need. So I had a choice with with Dixon and Doxson and Howard and Henry, but I had a specific need. So I'm pretty sure that maybe Demons had that same need or whatever, and did what was best for his roster. I mean, who knows?
He has a need for every position on his team. Poor old Bruce. I know we both crack some jokes on old Bruce, but he has a pretty sorry ass lineup. Bruce is my boy. Don't get me wrong, but and he's over there battling for his life over there. He has cancer, and he's been a real trooper. But yeah, his team's in rough shape, and I mean, anyone he took at 2 would be an upgrade because he needs it.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Look, guys, I just wanted to circle back on something that Tony said, because it's a narrative I've heard quite a lot with Derrick Henry, and it's the narrative that, there's little tread left on the tire. He got overworked as a college back. And I heard a stat the other day which absolutely floored me, and I actually did some research to try and see how accurate that stat was. And let me drop this on you. The number of college carries that Zeke Elliott had over his career, 592. The number of carries Henry had over his career, 602. So we're only talking about 10 additional carries over a 3-year span. So you kind of wonder whether this whole narrative that he's been overworked might be, in fact, overblown. Having heard that stat and having it let it settle on your mind, do you think it changes your perspective on Henry as a prospect, Tony?
No, Henry had most of those carries all last year. His first 2 years, he sat behind T.J. Yeldon, and he sat behind the kid that just got drafted by Miami. I can't remember his name. No, the Alabama running back. The one that's injury. Dang, I forgot his name off the top of my head.
Oh, you're talking about...
You're talking about Jay Ajayi?
Who?
Jay Ajayi?
No. The one Miami just drafted, the running back from Alabama.
Oh, Kenyon Drake.
Kenyon Drake. He was there. They had T.J. Yeldon, who played 2 years ago, and Alabama's always split carries with their running backs until this year, and then this year they ran the shit out of him. They ran him 300 some odd times, and
390. He had 395 attempts for 2,200. So he was averaging 5.6 as long as he was.
A college is only 12 games. It's not 16 like NFL, where DeMarco Murray got 390 carries 2 years ago, and everyone said he was overworked, and that's on a 16-game season. This is a 12-game season, and he had the same amount of carries. So, of those 600 carries that Henry had through his career at Alabama, 400 of them came last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Zeke has been the starter in Ohio State the last couple of years. No one's even pushed him for the starting job. So, yeah, he's getting his carries, but he's only getting 200 to 250 carries a year at Ohio State. He wasn't getting overworked.
He had two. Oh, sorry. I was going to say
trying to move this along. I think
2014. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, David.
It's my fault. I was just going to say in 2014, he had 273. In 2015, he had 289. I mean, yeah, that's about 125 less than Henry. But like Anthony was saying, I mean, he's got pretty much the same yardage, and I understand that it all came in one season, but I mean, the kid's only, what, he's 21, 22? Well, yeah, he's 21. So, I mean,
Yeah.
saying he's overworked or he's done, I mean, it's kind of a stretch for a 21-year-old, but, I think it remains to be seen. It's like I was saying, it's surprising that, that he got picked in the second round of our draft, considering the others that were available. But to say he's done, in my opinion, I don't think so. He's still a young buck. I think he's going to do good things.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
Cool.
For a few years at least.
All right, guys, there was one other play that stood out to me, and I thought I wanted to get your thoughts on, and that's Corey Coleman. He got picked number 3 in our draft. Are either of you actually worried about his landing spot? Because if you sort of look objectively at where he is, the skill position landscape on the Browns is completely barren. The questions around the quarterback situation are completely dire. He doesn't have a veteran presence to sort of transition him into the NFL, and nor a veteran presence to take the top coverage against defense. Are we concerned that he potentially is in a damaging situation with the Browns? What do you think, David?
Well, I mean, Coleman come out of Richardson, Texas. I mean, he played high school there his whole career. He participated in track and field. I mean, he's no stranger to pushing himself and running. I mean, Texas is one of the best states in the country that produces football players. I mean, you say football, you think Texas. Texas puts out some guys. My only concern, and as Tony will probably mention, he's with the Browns. They don't. It's the Browns. I mean, come on, it's the Browns. I mean, that's the only problem I see. Maybe he might be able to breathe some life into the team. Maybe they can, get their quarterback's ass in gear and get this kid the ball. And maybe they can turn it around. I mean, we've seen many Sundays where, we didn't think shit was going to happen, and of course it happened. I mean, Sundays and Mondays. I mean, that's the NFL. Just my thoughts.
Tony? Any Sunday. I mean,
what about you, Tony?
Anything can happen. Yeah, I'm not thrilled with his landing spot. I seen the kid play a little bit up there in Baylor, a few hours away from here. I mean, he's a playmaker, but you need somebody to get him the ball, and RG3 comes from the same college, and RG3, as you know, he hasn't done nothing in the pros since his rookie year. I mean, I don't really see a huge upside in Coleman this year. It's just because of his landing spot. But I mean, he could see some numbers. I guess he's really the only receiver they have, unless Josh Gordon comes back from smoking weed every day. And I mean, maybe RG3 tries to feed him the ball, but he's a small guy. He's only like 5'11" or something, but he's got some jets. I just don't see him as a. I wouldn't have taken him in the top 3. I wouldn't have taken him in the top 5. But that's just.
Look, the only thing I'll say in an effort to sort of button up the conversation is I had a look at some of the metrics around a lot of the wide receivers, and he actually rated the highest for the catch radius score, which is basically a measure that looks at a player's capacity to work vertically up the field, jump in the air, and compete for the ball. And if you have a look at his overall measurables, he actually is compared to one OBJ. So I think he's a physical freak and a specimen. It's just a little unfortunate that he's landed on the Browns. But having said all that, you hope that I guess his skill level overcomes his current situation.
Yeah.
What I thought I might do is move on to the next few picks, guys. How's that sound?
Sounds
good. I just want to call bullshit
the
OBJ comparison. I think he's more like Kendall Wright. That's just all I want to say.
Wow. Tony throwing bombs. All right, at the 107, we've got Kenneth Dixon. 108, Josh Dotson. 109, Jordan Howard. At the 110, Hunter Henry. 111, CJ Procise. And rounding off the top for the 12th pick, is Jared Goff. How about you, Tony? We start with you. Which of those 6 names stands out to you?
Well, Sterling Shepard, Dave drafted him. He looks like he's going to be everything I've heard about him. He seems like he's going to be the number 2 to Odell. So, he's going to see a lot of single coverage. Eli likes to throw the ball a lot. So, I think that's a pretty good spot for Shepard. Mike Thomas in New Orleans, I don't know if he's going to be effective this year or not. He might take the place of Marcus.
Hey, Tony, how about the other 6 names I've just read off, man? How about Dixon, Dotson, Howard, Henry, Prosise, and Goff? Which of those names stands out to you?
Well, Kenny Dixon stands out. I think he's the best running back on the Baltimore team. I think he'll get a shot.
Yep.
I'm not big on the other running back in Baltimore. I just can't think right now. But Dixon, I think, will be the starter before long over there. Josh Doctson, I took him 9 overall. I wasn't big on him this year, but from what I hear, Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon will be gone at the end of the year in Washington. So he'll probably be the number 1 next year. Then let's see, who else did we have? You had Howard. He's going to be in a committee over there in Chicago. I'm not sure how many carries he's going to see this year. And then who's the last one we had, boss?
We had Hunter Henry, the first tight end pick to end. CJ Prosise.
Henry's going to play behind Gates this year, but he's the same as Doctson. Next year he could be a tight end 2, tight end 1 maybe. Phillip Rivers likes to sling it a lot. And Jared Goff, I don't know, he could be pretty good if they get some playmakers over there. I mean, they have Gurley, but at receiver they don't have nothing. So I'm not big on him this year either, but this is Dynasty, so you plan for the future. Maybe he'll be a QB2 next year. That's my thoughts.
Cool. David, how about you? Which of those 6 names stands out to you?
Yeah, I've got to go with the Meeseeks pick with Kenneth Dixon. This kid's special, man. He's gone. For me, a big thing is completing your tenure at the college level. Going the 4 years, doing your bid at the college level, getting the experience, getting the leadership quality that's needed to start in the professional realm. These one and dones or 2 and dones, getting in there. I mean, it's all about the money, and it just drives me insane when kids do that. You need to get the fundamentals. Yeah, you're a great playmaker. Yeah, you got 200 yards the first year. Yeah, you caught all these balls and you did all this, but take the time to get your education, man. Take the time to get the fundamentals, to get the leadership qualities that it takes. Dixon ended up with less yards or less attempts his 2014 season or 2015 season as opposed to his 2014 season. I really see something good with him. His freshman year, he went with 27 rushing touchdowns, 28 total. His sophomore, he played 10 games, rushing 917 on 151 carries with 4 TDs. And then his junior year, he went to Louisiana Tech. All-time leader in rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, and total touchdowns. Yeah, it's Louisiana Tech, but still, for the season he had 1,299 rushing yards on 253 carries with 22 rushing touchdowns, and 6 of those were receiving. And then his senior year, boom, 1,070 on 197 yards, 19 touchdowns, an NCAA record, 87 career touchdowns. I know Kenyon Reynolds broke that record later on, but still, I really, that when you ask which name stands out of those 6, Kenneth Dixon definitely stands out. As far as the other guys, as Tony was saying, some the other guys are going to end up playing second fiddle with Doctson. Howard, yeah, we'll see. I don't think he's going to be getting any kind of starts anytime soon. Procease, yeah, I mean, he's with the Sea Chickens, but, that's about the only thing, good I see about that in golf. Well, we may see him in another year or so, like as Tony was saying, but I definitely don't see him starting this year.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that really stood out to me was Josh Dotson. It's an absolute travesty that he fell in the draft, and furthermore, it's a travesty that he was picked up by Tony Flores. That's shocking. I was absolutely gutted. The other thing that I thought was quite interesting was their first tight end selection at the 10th pick overall, according to my run sheet here.
Yep.
The one thing I thought was a little dubious is I think the selection's good because I think the player has potential and he's in a really good situation with a veteran QB who will learn off one of the best tight ends in the game in Antonio Gates. So he's in a good situation to develop and develop slowly, and the news out of OTAs, he's a hard worker. But I guess I'm just sort of talking about sort of draft gamemanship. It seemed like I think it might have been Christian who selected Hunter Henry. It just seems like a huge investment at that pick for a player who probably won't really produce for at least another 2 or 3 years. So that was the only thing that it sort of really jumped off the page to me. The other one was CJ Prosise. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on the player. I think that there was a consensus, that Thomas Rawls is perhaps still injured and not recovering as, I guess, deemed appropriate, and that the team decided to take some running back insurance and drafted a whole series of them. And I think the thinking at the time was CJ Prosise was well positioned to take over the running back duties if Thomas Rawls wasn't ready. But it doesn't seem to me like he profiles as that sort of player. I mean, he's a smaller back. He doesn't seem to operate between the tackles. He's more a player that needs a bit of space. He just seems like a third down specialist. What do you think, Tony?
I agree. I didn't talk about him. He was a converted wide receiver to running back at Notre Dame. He played receiver his first couple years over there, and then was converted over to running back. He was a pretty good playmaker. I know he didn't get a ton of carries, but I think he averaged about 6 or 7 yards a carry. There in Seattle, though, I don't see him getting a big role. Maybe he'll be the third down back behind Thomas Rawls, but they also drafted the other rookie, Alex
Collins.
Gordon, was it? Is it?
Collins.
Collins, my fault. You're right. And they still got Christian Michael, but he's been a bust. And he'll be a third down specialist. He can catch the ball, but he may be a Sproles type. I don't know.
Okay. I might move on and see if we can move on to the next 6 players. So I've got here at the 201 is Tyler Boyd. 202, Carson Wentz. At the 203, Will Fuller. At the 204, Devontae Booker. 205, Paxton Lynch. And at the 206, Paul Perkins. Why don't we go with Dave? Dave, of those 6 names, anything jump out at you?
Well, so Meeseeks, he ended up with the 2 back-to-back picks off our trade. He picked up Booker. That's the one name that really stands out to me. This kid, he's with the Broncos. I mean, yeah, reigning Super Bowl champs. But I saw some of his highlights as well. I can give you some stats. Give me 1 second. Let me get over to it. I've got all this. Sorry, I don't mean for the dead air.
No, you're right, mate. Don't worry. Take your time.
Monte, yes. Sorry. Yeah, he's 24. That's okay. He's won a few awards. The only thing with him is that there's not really a whole lot of, stats to really talk about him other than the American River College that he attended for a couple of years. 793 rushing yards on 12 touchdowns. 2012, 1472 on 15 touchdowns. Ended up going to the University of Utah a couple years later. You know, I see the pickup as a really, really good pickup for me, Seeks. And out of those 6, that's the one, you know, decent name that pops out. And as Tonio mentioned, you know, he's a special guy. The other kids went. I'm not. I mean, I understand why Tony picked him up. I guess. Well, not really, but he's got like 50. He's got like 50 quarterbacks on his roster, and then he goes and picks up this guy. But you know.
Yeah, the quarterback whisperer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm watching him over there. He thinks he's slick, but he's not. I see what he's doing. But yeah, I think you mentioned Washington as well, coming with the Raiders. You know, he's another name that kind of is going to be one to watch out for. I don't see him doing a whole lot this year, but you know, definitely is going to be one to watch out for. And you know, Tony, you're not slick, man. I see what you're doing.
All right. Speaking of the devil, why don't we throw to Tony so he can get a right of reply? Tony, what do you have to say for yourself, mate?
I'm good with Booker. Everything he said, Booker looks like he might be the best back in Denver. I know they just gave Anderson like $18 million, but as Anthony can contest to, I know he had him on his team last year in a couple leagues. He didn't do a whole lot until maybe the end of the year. Booker looks like he could be legit. He came off a knee injury last year. That's why he fell in the draft. But I mean, once that dude's healthy, he can play ball. Boyd, maybe he'll be the second receiver in Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's going to dial down their passing a lot. I think they're going to be a run-first team. I'm not sure about Boyd, to be honest with you. Wentz, I went with Wentz only because I think he has. I think he's really smart. He's tested real well. He seems like he's all in on football. He wants to be. He wants to be a quarterback in the NFL. It looks like he wants to. Looks like he has all the tools, man. He's a big kid. He can sling it. I know he went to a small school, but he isn't going to play this year. So I think a year of sitting behind sorry-ass Bradford and learning the NFL speed, he'll be fine. And then Fuller, I don't know. He had a lot of drops in school. He's going to be playing opposite of Hopkins in Houston, so he'll get single coverage. But Osweiler's not going to be slinging the ball a lot. Miller's going to run all over the place down there. And let's see, Paxton Lynch. I'm not buying anything from that dude. I don't think he's going to be good. Perkins, I think he could be pretty good. Over there in New York, they got Jennings, who's consistently hurt, and Perkins might be pretty good down the road.
Cool.
Meow. Meow.
Look, there were 2 players I thought I'd just quickly touch on. One was Will Fuller. A lot of people are really high on the guy, but I sort of agree with Tony. He's got a dubious quarterback who seems to me still needs to learn the position. And when I dug into a little further on the player, it seems that he only has a really limited route tree. In fact, I charted he's only got 4 predominantly. He's got the slant, the curl, the go, and the post, and they constitute 70% of his route tree. And the one predominant route that he runs is the go. And I guess a guy with blazing speed, that's kind of what you'd expect. But he's also has a really low contested catch rate percentage. It's 57%, which is actually below the wide receiver class average. And as Tony mentioned, he has a high drop rate. He's also the lightest in terms of weight among his QBs that I charted in the top 24. And when I had a look at some of his metrics, the one thing that stood out to me is he's actually got the lowest, or one of the lowest, catch radius scores. So overall, he doesn't particularly project as someone who's going to be incredibly impactful and dominant in the position, but I guess he has an opportunity, and maybe at the somewhere in the second round might be an appropriate pick. The other player that stood out to me was Tyler Boyd. Now, I selected him. I must admit, I didn't feel particularly comfortable, largely because he's an unknown quantity for me. I had a look at some of his metrics. He had the lowest SPARK score, which is a metric that looks at speed, power, agility, reaction time, and quickness. He was actually the lowest in his class. But he is going to a team with a stable quarterback. He is opposite AJ Green. The team had a recent departure of Mohamed Sanu and Marvin Jones. Between the two last year, that they totaled 98 receptions. So you've got to figure that he might at least compete and get an opportunity to get his share of those 98 receptions. So in terms of production, I'm not particularly expecting much, and I don't feel very comfortable with the pick at all. But it is what it is. I kind of felt it was just the best of a bad lot, I guess. What I thought I might do is maybe move on to the next series of picks and throw to you guys. I've got here at the 207, DeAndre Washington, 208, Austin Hooper, 209, Braxton Miller, at the 210, Kenyon Drake, at the 211, Malcolm Mitchell, and at the 212, Josh Ferguson. How about I throw to you, Tony? What do you make of those 6 names?
All right, of those, the one that stands out to me the most would be my boy Braxton Miller at Ohio State. Converted quarterback to wide receiver. Dude's fast. He's a playmaker. I think he'll do well. You know, I don't know about this year, but maybe by next year, I think he'll be better than Will Fuller is. He needs time to learn the position, you know, but he's good. He's taller, he's bigger. He may not be as fast, but he's still quick as Fuller. I think he'll be the real deal here in a couple years. Washington looks like he's going to be the second running back in Oakland behind Murray. I know Oakland's not big on Latavius Murray. Maybe Washington gets a chance, but he's a small dude. I think he's only about 5'8", 5'9". I don't know if he's a 3-down back. And then Drake. I'm kind of big on him because Miami doesn't have anyone else. I'm not big on Ajay. I mean, I'm not big on him. Drake may get a chance here pretty soon. But he was really injury prone over there in Alabama. And Ferguson's another one who might get a chance early with Frank Gore going on 75, I think. And maybe Ferguson gets a chance to play here pretty soon. But and he's in a great offense with Andrew Luck and them as long as Luck stays healthy. That's what I think.
Cool. How about you, David? Thoughts?
Well, I mean, so I'll go ahead and start off with Kenyon Drake. I mean, look, you know, he played backup to Lacey Ann Yeldon. His true freshman year, 281 yards on 42 carries. Sophomore year, 11 games, had 1 start, was a backup to Yeldon. He ended up with 694 yards on 92 carries with 8 touchdowns. Unfortunately, as Tony mentioned, in his sophomore year, he only got 5 games in where he broke his leg. But then in his senior year, he was able to play 13 games. He missed 2 to a broken arm. But at that point, he was a backup to Derrick Henry. You know, he rushed for 408 yards, 77 carries on that, and 1 touchdown. You know, I picked him up. Yeah, he's injury prone, but I guess I'm an optimist when it comes to running backs like that because you know, when you see these kids coming back after traumatic injuries like that, you know, an arm, a leg, a knee, come back and still are able to produce, still are able to, you know, to get those reps in, to prove, you know, those are the ones that are constantly trying to prove themselves, and those are the ones to me that you'll see in the long run, you know, putting up the numbers like Lacey did in his prime, putting up the numbers that Yeldon's doing now. You know, I think we're going to see big things from this kid. Maybe not this year, but definitely in another year or so. And that was one of the main reasons why I picked him up. DeAndre Washington, you know, 23-year-old out of Houston, Texas again. You know, it's high school, Thurgood Marshall in Texas. Here we go again with another, kid coming out of Texas, another great baller. 2014, his junior year, 1,100 yards on rush for 248. Had a career-long 80-yard touchdown run against Kansas State. He finished his senior year with 1,492 yards on 14 touchdowns. This is another big name that I think we need to watch out for. Maybe not this year, but definitely in the year in the next couple of years to come. Tony, great pickup on that guy. My only concern with him is that he's with the Raiders. I don't want to liken them to Cleveland, but I kind of had that same feeling. With the Raiders, he may not have the potential to shine like you want him to. But those are the two names that really stick out to me again. And Meeseeks, I tell you, he picked up another decent wide receiver. Of course, he's not as versatile as the other receivers that we have mentioned in the top picks of the draft, but that's going to be another one to watch out for. And I think Meeseeks did a really good job in picking up his rookies, and looking forward to doing battle with him as well as the rest of you guys.
Yeah.
Cool. The one thing that
I like the stat.
I missed that, Tony. Can you repeat that?
I was just telling Dave I like the stats he's dropping.
Yeah. He's very well prepared. He's leaving us in the dust, Tony.
Yeah.
Look, the one thing I wanted to mention, I thought was a great pickup by Paul, was Austin Hooper at the 208. I thought it was a smart selection because, he's in the late second round. It's not a massive investment on the position that isn't particularly valuable, I suppose, to something in our standard scoring system. He's in a good team. He's got a good QB. The depth chart is completely wide open. His only competition is Tammy and Levine Toilolo. And I think, I don't know, I just thought it was a really smart pick. I think he's a developmental guy. I don't expect him to produce huge numbers in the first or second year, but I think given the fact that we're playing Dynasty, I think Paul's invested appropriately for the tight end position. Now the other thing, guys, is I wanted to wrap up and perhaps start talking about rounds 3 to 5, but rather than actually focus individually on going through all the names, I just wanted to lump those rounds together and get your thoughts on what stood out to you for rounds 3 to 5. And while you're gathering those thoughts and ideas, I thought I'd just read out some names. We had Pharaoh Cooper, who was the 25th pick, Tajay Sharp at 26, Jonathan Williams, 27, Keith Marshall, 28, Tyler Irvin, 29, Alex Collins at 30, Chris Moore at 31, Cardale Jones at 32, Wendell Smallwood at 33, Jarrell Adams at 34, Sharon Peake at 35, and Daniel Lasco at 36. They're just some of the names that appeared in that sort of round 3 to 5 range. Hey, Tony, what stood out to you? Because I must admit, rounds 3 to 5 were kind of uninspiring for me.
Yeah, they were. Round 4, I guess, Sharp, the wide receiver that went to Tennessee. Christian took him.
He's getting some buzz.
Yeah, he's been catching a little buzz. Over there in Tennessee, it's not like any of the receivers are world beaters or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So he might get a chance to play sooner than later. He might be decent. Let's see, as I scroll through here. Wendell Smallwood, he might get a chance to play over there in Philly. We all know that Ryan Matthews is as injury prone as they get, and Sproles is, I think, 33 years old, so he might get a chance to play. I was looking at him in the draft too, but he got picked up before I got a chance to grab him. Let's see, Daniel Lasco, Dave took him. I think he'll take over for Spiller. Spiller's been complete bust the last couple years.
Mm-hmm.
Lasco could definitely become the running back behind Mark Ingram over there. Higbee, tight end for the Rams. The kid has Anthony. You took him.
I did.
That kid.
Very speculative pick.
Yeah, he has a lot of red flags on him. He's kind of gotten in a little bit of trouble. But everything I've heard, he seems to be a pretty good player. He'll probably get a chance to play here pretty soon. With the LA Rams, they got plenty of open spots over there for them young kids to play. So I think he'll get a chance to play this year with Goff and Gurley, and we'll see what happens with that. I think it's a pretty good pick, considering that's the third before last pick of the draft. Other than that, Cardale Jones, I like him because he went to Ohio State, but he's not an NFL quarterback. I just don't think he's going to be that good in the pros. Tyler Irvin might be the running back behind Miller over there in Houston, but I haven't really seen him play. I don't know. Don't got any stats for you. I'm sure Dave does. Tyler Irvin,
why don't we throw to Dave? Dave, what do you think?
You talking about Tyler Higbee or?
No, Tyler
Irvin.
Running
back. Went to
over at Houston.
Mr. Meek took him.
Oh, yeah. He's 22 years old, out of San Jose. 2012, he had 205 yards rushing, 599 return yards. Let's see, in a 38-34 win over San Diego State, he had a 97-yard kickoff return. The stats look pretty good. I mean, he runs the 40 and 4.4. He's got a pretty decent vert at 39 inches or whatever. It's not really a whole lot on him. I mean,
well, it sounds like he could come in, because in that league that we're talking about, the Dynasty Warriors League, we get points for return yardage. So sounds like he might be the return man over there. Maybe he'll get some points there.
That's where he got most of his yards anyway, 672 yards, return yards out of 107 rushing yards. So, I mean, he almost six-tupled his rushing yards versus return yards. Yeah. Pretty much.
Okay. Any other names stand out to you, David?
Yeah. So when I look at the 3 to 5 rounds 3 through 5, the names, a lot of them aren't rookies that got picked, and it looks like there's a lot of the names are, I guess the guys trying to fill roster slots or lack thereof, basically. I mean, look at the number 26 pick. Bruce picked up McManus. I mean, and then Cheddar's picked up Mansell. And it was weird to see Victor Cruz get picked up in the third round as well. But I mean, hey, who knows? He may come back and dominate this year for the Giants. I mean, Eli's dying for another ring. Again, when I think about the opportunities that Sundays and Mondays bring in the NFL, I mean, anything can happen, man. And, these names that we kind of, snicker about, specifically, like we were talking Austin Hooper, and the quarterback out of Ohio State, or the QB3 out of Ohio State that we're laughing at. I mean, again, any given Sunday, man, we can see these names rise to the top. It's going to be really interesting to see. I saw that running back that you picked up, Tony, in the third round, that Ferguson kid. He looks really good. I'm not really sure what James was thinking about picking up Sanchez. I mean, in the third round, there's a lot of other names he could have.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was thinking, but hey, again, like we talk about any given Sunday, and then Bruce picked up Geno Smith. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really. I'm not trying to belittle anybody or anything, but again, some better names out there.
Don't sugarcoat it.
You fucked up, man. That's what I'm gonna say. Okay, you fucked up. You may have. Again, I would have picked up Jacob Tam before I picked up Geno Smith. I mean, come on, Kenny Britt before Geno Smith. It may have been a bad pickup. And again, you were talking about Lasco and Peak. Again, these were, we talk about dynasty and we talk about looking forward and looking ahead. I see some stuff in Lasco and I see some stuff in Peak. I saw a few of their highlights as well. I won't go into the stats or whatever. But yeah, I really like some of the numbers that I saw. I really like looking at these guys. And Anthony, that Tyler Higbee guy, I know you're just trying to, it seemed to me like you were just looking ahead and picking this guy up, trying to get your roster filled out. I think there's going to be some good things coming out of him. Yeah, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but definitely it probably was a really good pickup.
I agree. I like the Higbee pick. I ended up taking the Jags defense in the last round, just mainly because they have, yeah.
You were desperate.
Well, I think they're underrated, man. I really do. I think they got 3 first-round picks basically on that defense. And Fowler coming back this year. They got Miles Jack, and then they drafted Ramsey. I think there were 3 good players at each position: defensive line, linebacker, and at or corner. And they already had a good defense there. And the coach Bradley used to be Seattle's ex-defensive coordinator. So I mean, the dude knows how to play defense, and I think Jacksonville's a team on the rise, man.
Look, I would have picked Jacksonville over fucking Geno Smith. Okay, I mean, even if I had 15 defenses, I still would have picked up Jacksonville over Geno Smith. Come on, man, let's get it together.
Manziel over Geno Smith.
That's even worse.
All right, guys, I'm going to throw out 2 names for you. Rashad Higgins, Kieris Garrett. They're both 2 wide receivers that went undrafted in the NFL draft and went undrafted in our rookie draft. Now, seeing as you're the resident Panthers expert, David, what can you tell me about Kieris Garrett? Because I've got some information here, but I'd like to hear your thoughts first.
Whoa. You say Kieris Garrett? Why am I not hearing that name?
You got picked up by the Panthers. How about I read out these little dot points I've got here. So when I look at the guy, he's 6'3", 220 pounds, which is a pretty decent size.
Mm-hmm.
Among the wide receivers that I canvassed, he actually had the longest arms at 34 inches, and he had the best burst score. Now, for burst, basically it's a metric that looks at his weight and examines it against his vertical and broad jump and determines a player's explosiveness. So he looks like he's big, he's athletic, and when you look, at his overall measurables, according to a particular software program I've got, he actually compares to one Des Bryant.
Bullshit.
What do you make of that, Tony? I actually think he's a sneaky good player, and I think that he's in a team that's loaded with wide receivers. So he'll be competing for receptions and playing time against the likes of Kelvin Benjamin, Devin Funchess, Ted Ginn, Corey Brown. So I'm not expecting great things from him, but I think he has an opportunity, and he profiles as a sort of player who might do okay on the Panthers. Have you heard any buzz from him, David?
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought I know who you're talking about. Yeah, and I did see him a few months ago when we were down in Charlotte. He looked like he was a happy guy out there. He went UDFA, so I mean, I don't really have a whole lot on him other than his American Athletic Conference record of 268 receiving yards, at 219 receptions, 3,200 yards on 22 TDs. I mean, I can't even see. I mean, did he even do 4 years in college? I can't even. I mean, none of the stats show up for this kid, and that's one of the reasons why I was like, wait a minute, who the hell are you talking about? But yeah, looking at him now, yeah.
I dug deep.
Yeah, you did. You dug really deep on this guy. You kind of caught me off guard there. But yeah, again, the UDFA guys, when I think about UDFA, I'm thinking about this kid out of Duke, and his name escapes me now, but this guy was a monster. I mean, he's not a fantasy prospect or anything, but this kid out of Duke, dude, he was swallowing up out there on the practice field when we were there. One of the guys was like, he's gonna be the next Luke. He's gonna be the next Thomas Davis. And I wish I can remember this kid's name out of Duke, but he went UDFA. But getting back to Kieres Garrett, he's probably one to watch out for in the years to come. He's still sitting behind Philly Brown. He's still sitting behind Benjamin Funchess, like you mentioned. But we may end up using him to do some returns. I wish we would really just go ahead and fire Brendan Burson, get his white ass off my field. I'm tired. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him returning any more fumbled ass balls. Just let him go. Send him out to pasture. Let somebody like a Kieres Garrett get in. I'm sorry. It's just a personal issue with me and Brendan Burson. I really fucking hate that guy. I don't like him. I don't like him. Sorry.
Cool. Right, the other player I want to talk about. Oh, sorry, Tony. Do you want to say something? I've cut you off there.
I was just wondering how he really felt about the guy. That's it. I just want to.
The other guy is
Garrett real quick. I guess he led the nation in receiving last year. I don't have his stats right here, but I'm just reading it off of here. That he led the nation in receiving last year. He's 6'3", 220, like you mentioned. But from everything I read right here, it looks like he has some work to do if playing some squad. So.
He's also another kid out of Texas, guys. He's also another kid out of Texas. So again, that's one to watch out for.
He might be a practice squad type guy the first year. That's probably.
All right. We'll see how we go. The other guy is Rashard Higgins. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are sort of active at looking at authors that sort of chart players and do developmental metrics, but I'm quite interested in that sort of stuff. And one of the things I looked at is there's a guy called Matt Harmon who basically specializes in wide receivers, and he develops a system where he charts individual players against things like where they align, whether they play the left or the right, the slot, what they're like in terms of their catch radius, what they're like against coverage, how much separation they're able to create, what they're like in contested receptions, all that sort of stuff. So I used a lot of his data and his analytics, and I sort of basically developed a very simple chart for myself. I wrote down the list of wide receivers, and I assigned points for every favorable attribute that I saw. So as an example, if I thought that their catch rate was above the average, I gave them a point. If I thought they were great against man coverage, I gave them another point, and so forth. So obviously the players with most positive attributes would get the most points, and they basically rose to the top of my ranks in terms of wide receivers. And these are some of the names that my little amateurish system threw out. Treadwell, Dotson, Coleman, Shepard, Thomas. The other two names which might interest you are Leonte Carew and Rashard Higgins. So basically I looked at that and I thought, this is one guy I think has a real chance of being a sneaky good pick, maybe in the long term. So I actually picked him up. And I think he's on the Browns, where the depth chart is open, and I think he has a good opportunity to compete. The one big knock on the guy is he's not athletically gifted at all. So he's going to have to basically be 100% on his game, and he's going to have to impress very early to stay on the roster. Yeah. Have you guys heard anything about this guy?
Higgins. I mean, the only thing, the biggest thing you need to know. Here we go again. Another Texas kid. Straight out of Mesquite High School. He's 21. 1,136 yards on 10 TDs. 2-star recruit by Rivals.com. Starter in Mesquite basketball. Track and field 200-meter dash, 22.76 seconds. Placed 7th in the long jump. True freshman out of Colorado, 14 games, 68 receptions on 837 yards and 6 TDs. Sophomore year, he won the Billett Biletnikoff. Sorry, Biletnikoff Award. Whatever the hell that is.
That's the top receiver in college football.
There you go. The only thing with me is that he only did 3 years. 68 receptions, 96, 75, 239 receptions on 3,600 total. Again, maybe getting that fourth year in may help him push forward a bit faster, but who knows? Tony?
Yeah, he comes from a spread system, so that means they threw the ball all over the field. He wasn't in a pro offense. From what I hear, he has the leg up for the wide receiver 3 spot there in Cleveland, and I mean, the worst part about that is he's in Cleveland. I mean, again, Cleveland has no playmakers. I mean, well, Coleman, Higgins, I don't know what to make of them, especially since they have Griffin or Josh McCown throwing the ball. So I'm not really big on any receiver over there in Cleveland until they get someone who can throw the goddamn ball. But who knows? I mean, maybe it's the year of Cleveland. The Cavaliers just won the championship, so who fucking knows? As far as that's about it, man. He's 6'1", 196, so he's got decent size, but I don't have his stats in front of me or his combine numbers. But I don't know. He's in Cleveland. He's doomed.
All right, guys. What I was going to do is actually talk about some draft behaviours that I noticed, and I was going to run through a couple of names and numbers. But before I do that, is there any player that you guys wanted to talk about before I move on? Is there any speculative player that you wanted to discuss?
Tony Romo.
No, screw Tony Romo. Brissett. Jacoby Brissett. Brissett.
All right, what else can you tell us about it, David?
Your boy.
That's right. NC State. Man, I tell you what, watch him. Hopefully he gets to start the first 4 games. He probably won't, but I'm glad that whole Deflategate shit, as somebody posted up on Facebook and then on our page, I'm glad that shit's over with. I want to see Jacoby Brissett. I want you guys to watch him. I mean, look at some of his highlight reels. He's a special guy, not just because he's NC State alum, not just because he's a local guy, but we spent many Saturdays here in this living room on that TV watching this kid, and he's a really, really good guy, really talented guy.
Cool. How about you, Tony?
I don't know much about him, so I'll just back whatever you say on him.
Okay. Well, I know nothing about him, so it looks like I have a bit of homework to do. How about I just sort of walk you through some of my observations of the draft generally? Does that sound good, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what I noticed was that if you look at the average draft positions of various players and positions, the one thing I noticed is I should take a step backwards. I actually looked at our draft and compared that against the consensus draft position. So I wanted to see how we behaved in the draft in comparison to, say, experts on other websites. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I noticed is that experts generally have one quarterback go off in its first top 24 picks. We had 3. Most experts generally have only one tight end go off in the top 24. We, again, had 3. And one of the things I also noticed is there are, generally speaking, experts normally stack the top 24 with a lot more wide receivers. We had substantially less. So it leads me to believe that in our draft, we basically reached for 2 key positions, quarterback and tight end. And when I had a look at the numbers and sort of crunched them, I've actually got a list of 4 players who, according to my little mathematical spreadsheet, actually we reached for the most. I'll read them out to you, see what you guys think.
All right.
apparently we reached for Hunter Henry. We picked him 14 picks ahead of the consensus. We reached for Paxton Lynch. We reached for Carson Wentz, and we reached for Austin Hooper. How does that gel with you guys? Tony, does that sound about right?
I took Wentz. I believe I took him 16th overall in the draft. I actually considered taking him with my first pick, but I don't know. I'm big on the kid. He seems like he has all the tools to succeed. I think he'll be a serious player down the road, obviously. As for Lynch, I'm not buying anything that guy's selling. And the two tight ends, they're the same as Wentz. I mean, I don't see them being productive this year, but definitely next year. I can see Wentz and those tight ends being productive.
Oh, sorry, Tony. Go ahead.
You're good. I'm done.
David, do you think we reached?
Well, Tony's full of shit. I mean, let's face it. You know, he told himself, look, I've got 5 QBs. Let's go ahead and go for number 6. He just wanted to fill his roster up with QBs. He loves QBs. To say that it's a stretch by everybody, as far as an average is concerned for the other leagues or the other, however it was that you drew your metrics up, it was based on need, and really that's what you're going to find in Dynasty, other than maybe with the exception of round 1, but every other round after that is just going to be based on need versus what's available. For me personally, it was a matter of okay, I have these 5 names. Okay, look at my sheet. Okay, these 5 names, which one's the best? Let's go with it. This is what I need. Let's go with it. I mean, and really, to correlate that with the real draft out, look at the Panthers. I mean, they picked up fucking 3 cornerbacks, right in a row. And I mean, Gettleman said, hey, I'm looking at the names. I may not be necessarily looking at what I need, but I'm looking at what's available when it's my turn to pick, and really, if you look at, overall, to me, it's a matter of, you're going to find that maybe, based on need versus, what's available, and others you're going to see picking on need versus instead of what's available, vice versa. You understand what I'm saying? Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied over here, but
I do. That's all right. I actually think you hit the nail on the head. I actually wrote out my conclusions, and they're basically aligned with yours, that we draft for need, and we haven't been drafting best player available. I've also got here that basically we elevate the value of tight ends, quarterbacks, and running backs, and that might be tied to the fact that we think that there's a scarcity at the position and that there's a glut of wide receivers. And I also had a look at one of our mock drafts that we did, and I compared that against the consensus average draft position, and it seemed to me that basically when we're in a vacuum and we're just simply picking names that we think are good, that we appropriately value them. But under the pressure of a draft situation and with the needs of our team as the backdrop, that we basically reach. That seems to be the sort of the conclusions I drew from all of that. What I thought I might also do is I've got here a list of players who I wrote down as value picks. So they're basically players that fell in the draft, that got swooped up by opportunistic owners and represent big wins. I've split them up into just 2 groups, wide receiver and running back. How about I read some of those names out and I'll get your guys' reaction. Apparently the prick that picked Sterling Shepard was a winner, because he picked him 3 picks later than Sterling Shepard should have been at. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that guy's an asshole.
I mean,
he's an asshole.
What the fuck? I saw the name. He was available. Hey, wait a minute. I seem to remember a comment from Mr. Anthony was, hey, that was a good pick, D-Train. That was a great pick. And now here I am.
It was a good pick.
2 weeks later, now I'm picking him. Oh, I picked him earlier than he was supposed to be. Hey, go fuck yourself.
No. You misunderstood, David. I actually said that was a win. You actually
Oh.
picked him three spots later than he should have been picked. So he fell to you, and you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the
It's
other
that
player.
accent, man. I'm sorry, you fucked me up. It was your accent. I'm sorry. My bad.
No, that's why I said it was a good pick. The other names that were apparently big wins for the people who picked them were Braxton Miller, Will Fuller, of course, Josh Dotson, the other prick of the league, picked him, Farrow Cooper, but the big winner was the guy who picked Leonte Carew, because that smart owner picked him 15 picks later than he should have been picked.
There's a
Who do you
reason
think
for
that
that.
owner was? Who do you think that owner was, Tony?
I
was
know.
you.
I'm just saying there's a reason that he went that way. I think the big winner is me, because it's always me.
All right, I'll go through the running backs. Apparently, these guys represented huge value in the draft. So the guy that picked Paul Perkins, 1.
Yeah.
The guy that picked Devontae Booker, 1. And the guy that picked CJ Prosise, also 1, which I think was Jonas. But the best valued running back was Kenyon Drake. He fell in the draft, and Colby swooped and picked him up. So he apparently won the running back stakes. What do you think of that, guys?
I think we shouldn't tell Kobe, because then his head's going to get bigger. No.
Yeah.
No, Perkins was a good pick, man.
I agree.
The running backs just most of the draft. Anthony and I have gone back and forth on this for a long time. That this draft just didn't lack the players that popped out this year. You know, none of these guys are probably going to be fantasy superstars for us this year, other than that prick named Paul who took my boy. Other than Paul getting Elliott, really everyone in this draft is just a crapshoot, really. You know, we'll see what happens, but I definitely like the Perkins pick and Booker. Booker was a good pick too.
Yeah, that was Matt, who coincidentally is our youngest person in the draft, and he seemed to have killed it. So he's going to show us old Cooters what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
well,
Matt.
Guys, I'm about run. Oh, sorry, David. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I like Matt specifically with his trading abilities, and he's a good dude.
Hell yeah! I tried to trade Jordan Cameron for Devontae Parker too.
That was, yeah, okay. Perhaps best left unsaid. Look, guys, I'm about run dry of points and statements. But do you guys have any closing statements that you have that you might want to use to bookend this broadcast?
No, well, I'll jump in there.
Anything to say as a closer?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for everyone who showed up to the draft. It was a mess in the beginning, but thanks to Anthony and myself, we got it all figured out. We were able to do the draft, and I guess about an hour later, we knocked it out. It was fast and furious, and I appreciate you guys sticking with me on that. And then I look forward to the MFL draft next month, and I'm sure we'll all talk about that more as it gets closer. But go ahead, Dave.
That should be great.
Just big kudos to you guys for it only took you a couple hours turnaround time for a huge glitch in NFL.com and shame on them for their bullshit software. They need to get 2 hamsters in the fucking wheel instead of the one that they've got. Kick that developer they've got in the ass and get them going. I mean, because that was just horse shit. But yeah, kudos to you guys. You guys got it all fixed up and had us going. We really appreciate it. Again, thank you guys for having me on with you tonight. It's been fun. listening to you bullshit your way through your picks and whatnot. I know, we all know who the real winner is going to be this season. It's me. You know who it is. Yeah, put your shit down, homie. You know, we know what the deal is. But no, seriously, thank you guys, and I'm looking forward to doing battle with you in the NFL league. I'm looking forward to doing battle in MFL as well. Can't wait to see what the picks are going to be like, and can't wait to do that draft. Also, thanks a lot, Anthony, for getting this shit together and keeping us going. And yeah, Tony, go fuck yourself.
Well, look, all I wanted to do before I end the broadcast was thank you guys for participating, and also acknowledge the fact that you guys were largely the driver of this sort of hangout together. It's been great talking to you guys, picking your brain and getting your thoughts on some of these prospects that are about to enter the league. And I guess what I wanted to finish on and close on was to say it's been fantastic, and I hope that others that might view this video look at this as a great opportunity to also get on and talk and have fun and engage with us. So I really want to solicit as much interest as possible, and so please flood all of us or any of us with email requests and any feedback. That'd be great. All right, guys, I'm about to sign off. I shall catch you later. I'm sure we'll touch base, and I hope to kick both your respective butts in the ensuing weeks. All right. Look at this. That's dreadful. How about you, Tony? Let me capture you doing the finger up. Come on. No?
Number
No
one.
middle finger, Tony, for me? That's dreadful. All right, guys, I'm about to sign off. Have a good one, fellas.
All
Catch
right,
you
buddy.
later.
Later, everybody.